Okay, here's Ms. Whitaker, and I'm going to continue with number 13 on your Unit 3 review. So it says solve for y on number 13. So that means I want to isolate that y right there. That means everything else needs to go to the other side. So every step I take needs to be towards that goal of isolating my y. So let's get rid of the 6x. Let's take care of any adding or subtracting before we multiply or divide. So how do we get rid of a 6x in this first expression on the left? I subtract it, but I have to do it from both sides. That cancels out, leaves me with a negative 3y is equal to 24 minus 6x. Then I can divide both sides by that negative 3. Those cancel. Divide both sides by a negative 3. Now I noticed on the QCA some of you were just putting the negative 3 under one of the terms on the right, but it needs to go under the whole thing. It's negative 3, it's the whole expression, 24 minus 6x, is being divided by a negative 3. Now, if you want to, this would be acceptable as an answer, is 24 minus 6x over negative 3, but some of you may notice that that can be simplified even farther. So that 24 divided by a negative 3 would be a negative 8, and then a negative 6x divided by a negative 3 would be a positive 2x. So this one is acceptable, or you can simplify it, but maybe that's for another day. But just so if you're wondering if you can do that, yes, you can do that, because negative 3 would go into 24 and a negative 6x. So either one of those answers is acceptable. All right, number 14, again, solving for y. I need to get rid of the ax first, so I'm going to subtract ax. This was, I think, straight from your QCA. So those cancel, leaves me with a by equals c minus ax. Now I need to divide that by b to get rid of that. That means this whole term on the right, the whole expression on the right, needs to be divided by b. So y is equal to c minus ax divided by b. All right, number 15. Number 15, I think what I would do is what we were doing with proportions, is doing my cross product. So I'm going to do 9 times y minus 4 with that cross product right there is equal to 2 times y plus 9. And then I'm going to distribute. Get 9 times y is 9y. Minus 36. Don't forget that sign right there. And then I get 2y plus 18. Now I need to put all my variables on one side, group all my y's on one side, and all my numbers on the right, or the left, whichever one is the opposite of the variable. So my rule of thumb is to put the variable on the side that makes it positive, so that means I'm going to put them on the left. So I'm going to subtract 2y from both sides, and I get 7y minus 36 is equal to 18. That means if my y's are on the left, I got to put everything on the right. So plus 36. That leaves me with 7y on the left equals 54. Divide both sides by 7. Y equals 54 sevenths. All right, number 16. I'm going to do some distributing first. That's the first thing that catches my eye. So make sure you're careful of those signs. All of those signs, make sure you're really, really careful. This subtraction right here means everything right here is being subtracted. So be really careful with your signs. So 2 times 3y is 6y minus 8. And then minus, let's go ahead and just change that to a plus and then change this to a negative. So I've got a negative 5 times that negative 8 gives me a positive 40. Then I have a negative 5 times the 4y gives me a negative 20y is equal to 4y minus 4. Please do that very carefully. There's so many negatives involved there and distributing that I don't want you to mess up right at that first step. So be really careful, double check it before you then start combining like terms and isolating your variable. All right, so again, at this point I'm going to combine my like terms. My y's, I've got 6y minus 20y is a negative 14y. And then I have a minus 8 or negative 8 and a positive 40. That leaves me with 32 is equal to 4y minus 4. Then I'm going to get my y's on one side, and my rule of thumb is to put it on the side that makes the variable positive, so that means I'm going to add 14y to both sides. That leaves me with an 18y on the right. That means I'm going to add 4 to both sides. 18y is equal to 36, then divide by 18, and y is equal to 2. And then make sure you go back and check your answers. It's not going to be hard to plug that back in and make sure it all works out. All right, number 17, solve for q. Q divided by 5 equals 41. This should be super easy. What we're wanting to do is get rid of that divided by 5. So we use the inverse operation. We're going to multiply both sides by 5. Q should equal 205. Then go back and check your answer. 205 divided by 5 should be 41. It's those simple little problems like that that can trip you up sometimes, so just make sure you're checking your answers with an equation. You should never miss it, especially if it's a multiple choice problem. You should make sure that your answer works out when you plug it into that original equation. All right, number 18. Twice a number increased by 12 is equal to 31 less than 3 times the number. This is an equation. Just like what I'm reading, twice a number increased by 12 means adding 12 is equal to 31 less than 3 times the number. So I got to do 3 times the number first and then do 31 less than that. Think about what comes first. We're not just going left to right as we read it. We're thinking about what it actually means. It means 31 less than 3 times the number. So get 3 times the number and subtract 31. Find the number. All right, so now I've just got an equation with variables on both sides. So let's put our variable on one side, and my rule of thumb again is to put it on the side that leaves your variable positive. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. I get x minus 31 is equal to 12. Let's get rid of the 31, and x is equal to 43. And then go back, you can plug that back in and make sure it works. All right, number 19, the perimeter of a rectangle is 136 feet. The length is 3 times the width. Find the dimensions of the rectangle. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is draw my rectangle. And I have the width, and I know that the length is 3 times the width. So make sure that you're not just doing W and L, because they're defining what L is, and it has to do, it's related to the width. So then I've got width, and I have 3 times the width as my dimensions. And I know that the perimeter is equal to 136. So I know that 2 times 3W, 2 lengths plus 2 widths, is equal to 136. Or I can just add it all up. 3W plus 3W plus W plus W equals 136. That's perimeter of a rectangle. So that's 6W plus 2W is equal to 136. So that's 8 W's when I combine my like terms. And so W is equal to 17. Now that's my width. Width is 17. My length is 3 times that, so my length is going to be 51. And then just double check with a width of 17 and a length of 51 that your perimeter is going to be 136. All right, number 20. 1/2 of the difference of a number and 3 is equal to 9 less than 3 times the number. So just keep reading it until you finally kind of see that math problem in your head. 1/2 of the difference, so look at all your keywords, the difference of a number and 3 is equal to, I know there's an equal sign, 9 less than, so it's going to be minus 9 at the end, 3 times the number. So I know that's 3x minus 9. And then 1/2 of the difference, difference means subtraction, and I'm going to take half of that subtraction problem of a number and 3. So here's the difference of a number and 3, and I'm going to do half of that. All right, then I can distribute these right here. I have a half x minus 3 halves. equals 3x, oops, sorry, minus 9. All right, I'm going to get rid of these fractions. So I'm going to multiply everything by 2 just to clear the fractions. So let's make sure that when we clear fractions, we're not just clearing the fractions, but we're having to multiply everything by the number that we choose. So I'm looking for a common denominator. So 2 is my common denominator. So the way I think of it is that I'm multiplying everything by 2. So when I do that, I get x minus 3, because those are cleared out. The 2 and the 2, if that's 2 over 1, those cancel. Those cancel. Leaves me with x minus 3 on the left. And then 2 times 3x is 6x. And then minus 18. Make sure everything gets multiplied by the number that you chose. So this is my new equation over here on the right. Then I'm going to move my variables on one side. So I'm going to subtract x. I get a negative 3 is equal to 5x minus 18. I'm going to add 18. Have to move over here, sorry. 15 is equal to 5x. Divide by 5. X is equal to 3. Okay, number 21. An architect built a scale model of a shopping mall. On the model, a circular fountain is 20 inches tall and 22.5 inches in diameter. If the actual fountain is to be 8 feet tall, what's its diameter? This is a proportion problem, and I'm just going to set it up just as I'm reading it. Here's the model, 20 inches tall over 22.5 inches diameter. Set that up equal to the actual fountain. So the tall needs to be on top, so 8 feet tall on top, and then diameter is what I'm looking for. So do your cross products, and you should have 20x is equal to 22.5 times 8, which turns out to be 180. And then divide both sides by 20. X is equal to 9 feet. All right, number 22, the Martin family plans to spend $100 on their son's birthday party at the neighborhood movie. If the tickets cost $6.50 for their son and 6 friends, how much can be spent on food for everyone? Now, I'm just assuming, because there's not any more information given, that we're not including any parents in this. So we just have to remember it's $6.50 for the tickets, and it's for the son and 6 friends. So we're, say, 7 people. And they're going to spend $100, and they're looking for how much can be spent on food. So we know that they can spend $100, and that's going to be equal to $6.50 per ticket times 7 kids plus their food. $6.50 times 7 is $45.50. That's equal to 100. Let's subtract that from both sides. And we get F is equal to $54.50 can be spent on food. All right, number 23. The leafcutter ant is about 1.2 centimeters long and takes strides of 0.8 centimeters. If a person were to take proportionally equivalent strides, what size strides would a 1.8 meter tall person take? Again, this is a proportion, and just like I would see it, I would say the length is 1.2 of this ant, and the strides are 0.8. So if a person was 1.8 meters in length, then what are the strides of the person? So that's what I'm looking for. So use your cross products to solve, and I end up with 1.2x is equal to 1.44. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 1.2. X is equal to 1.2 meters. All right, number 24 is one of those consecutive problems. Find 3 consecutive numbers whose sum is 138. So 3 consecutive numbers. We're just going to assume those are integers. So we're going to say the first one is x. Then the second number is going to be x plus 1, and we are adding all these. And then this third number is going to be x plus 2. They all equal 138. Let's combine our like terms. We end up with 3x's plus 3 equals 138. We're going to subtract 3 from both sides. I get 3x is equal to 135, and I'm going to divide both sides by 3. X is equal to 45. Then the next two numbers are 46 and 47. On these problems, just make sure that you're using x as your first number, and then the other numbers have to do with x, so make them relate to x somehow. All right, number 25, I am told that Pinko's charges 89 cents for a color copy plus $2 for the paper. I just spent $23.36 on color copies. How many copies did I make? So I'm told I spent a total of $23.36. Let's make that equals. And I'm going to set up an equation. I know it's 89 cents a copy. So I'm going to do 89 cents a copy, plus $2 for the paper. And we're trying to figure out what C is. We're going to isolate C. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 2 from both sides. I get 21.36 is equal to 89 cents a copy. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 89. And you should end up with C, the number of copies, is 24. So, simple equation, you set it up using a real-life problem. Okay, again, this is a scenario that we're going to set up an equation. We want to know the price is equal to something, which would represent a discount of 12% off an original price of $Y dollars. So we have $Y dollars and a discount of 12%. So be sure the equation would calculate the discounted price. So we want the sale price, not the discount. So I'm going to start with the actual original price of $Y dollars, and I'm going to subtract 12 times Y, 0.12. 12% is also 0.12. So I'm going to subtract 0.12 times Y, and that would give me my sale price. So that's all you need to do for that problem, is create an equation and then solve if you're asked to.